Commander Vexthul stood before the group of young cadets in the Great Hall of the Military Academy. His purple skin bore the scars of many battles, and his 4 eyes held the weight of terrible memories. The cadets sat quietly, waiting to hear the stories their instructors had whispered about in dark corners, stories about the humans. 20 years ago, Vexthul began, his voice deep and rough. We thought we knew everything about war. We had conquered 47 worlds. We had brought peace to the galaxy through strength. Then we met them. He paused, looking at each young face. Some were Zephyrian like himself, with purple skin and multiple eyes. Others came from different worlds across the galaxy. All of them would need to understand what happened when the Confederation first found Earth. I was just a lieutenant then, serving under Admiral Crexton aboard the warship Thunder of Stars. We received orders to travel to a small system at the edge of the galaxy. 3 planets, one with life. The species there called themselves humans. The old commander walked slowly across the front of the room. His metal leg, a replacement from the war, made soft clicking sounds on the floor. Our scouts had watched them for months. Humans seemed weak compared to us. They were smaller, had only 2 eyes, and their skin was soft and pale. Their technology was primitive. They still used chemical rockets to travel between their worlds. They fought each other in small wars over patches of dirt and drops of water. A young cadet raised her hand. Sir, if they were so weak, why do we study them now? Vexthul smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Because, cadet, they taught us that strength is not always what it seems to be. He continued his story. Admiral Crexton was confident. He had destroyed fleets 10 times larger than anything the humans possessed. Our plan was simple. We would appear in their system, show them our power, and demand their surrender. Most species gave up when they saw our ships. It saved lives on both sides. The commander activated a holographic display that showed the Sol system as it appeared 20 years ago. 3 planets orbited a yellow star. The 3rd planet, Earth, glowed blue and green. We jumped out of hyperspace right at the edge of their system. 50 warships, each one larger than their biggest space station. We sent a message in their language, demanding they surrender their world to the Galactic Confederation. We gave them 1 day to respond. Vexthul's voice grew quieter. They responded in 6 hours. But it was not the surrender we expected. He touched a control, and the display changed to show small human ships moving away from Earth. They looked tiny compared to the massive alien vessels. Instead of giving up, they attacked us. Their leader, a human named Jake Morrison, commanded a ship called Liberty's Edge. It was barely the size of our shuttlecraft, armed with primitive missiles and kinetic weapons. When I saw it approaching our flagship, I laughed. What could such a small ship do to us? The old veteran's expression darkened. I stopped laughing when Morrison rammed his ship directly into our shield generators. Gasps came from several cadets. This was not how space battles were supposed to work. Ships fought at long range with careful tactics and minimal risk. Ramming attacks were considered suicide and against all military doctrine. The collision destroyed Morrison's ship completely. All 43 humans aboard died instantly, but their sacrifice knocked out our forward shields and damaged our main weapon systems. Before we could recover, more human ships were attacking. Vexthul showed more images. Human vessels, all smaller than Confederation fighters, diving straight at the massive alien ships. Some carried explosive charges. Others had been modified with ramming spikes. A few had been turned into flying bombs. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez piloted a ship called Defiant Hope. She had calculated the exact angle needed to penetrate our armor at its weakest point. Her ship was loaded with every explosive the humans could find. When she hit us, the blast tore through 3 decks and killed over 200 of our crew. The commander paused, remembering. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what she said over the radio before impact. He activated an audio recording. A young woman's voice filled the room, speaking in accented English that the translation system converted to Galactic Standard. Tell my daughter I love her. Tell her mommy fought so she could be free. The cadets sat in shocked silence. This was not the cold, calculating warfare they had studied. This was something far more frightening. Commander Ben Taylor led the next wave of attacks. His ship, Guardian's Fury, had been a cargo hauler before the war. The humans had welded armor plates to its hull and mounted missile launchers in its cargo bay. Taylor flew straight at our command ship, ignoring all our defensive fire. Vexthul's 4 eyes closed as he remembered. Our weapons hit his ship dozens of times. We could see the hull breaking apart, atmosphere bleeding into space. Any sane being would have retreated or ejected in an escape pod. Taylor kept coming. The display showed the tactical recording from that day. The human ship, streaming debris and fire, continued its attack run even as it fell apart around its crew. Taylor's ship struck our communication array. The explosion was so powerful it knocked out our ability to coordinate with the rest of the fleet. In the confusion that followed, 12 more human ships attacked different targets, each one a suicide run. Each one hitting exactly where it would cause the most damage. A Zephyrian cadet spoke up. "Sir, were all humans insane? Why would they throw away their lives like that?" Vexthul looked at the young alien with something like pity. "That is what we thought at first. We believed humans had some kind of mental defect that made them value death over life. We were wrong." He changed the display to show a recording from inside one of the human ships. The pilot, a middle-aged man with graying hair, spoke calmly to his crew as their ship approached the enemy fleet. "This is Captain Paul Stevens aboard Final Stand. All systems green. Approaching target. Remember, we're not doing this because we want to die. We're doing this because we want our children to live." The recording continued as the ship took heavy fire. Stevens' voice remained steady even as explosions rocked his vessel. "Hull breach on deck 2. Engine power at 60%. Janet, how's our targeting?" A woman's voice responded from somewhere off-screen. "Target locked, Captain. We'll hit there. Engine core dead center." "Good. Tommy, send a message to the fleet. Tell Admiral Walsh we've opened a hole in their defenses. The Liberty Squadron can exploit it." The recording ended just before impact. Vexthul looked at his students, many of whom seemed disturbed by what they had witnessed. "You see, the humans were not insane. They were doing something we had never encountered before. They were making a calculated trade, their lives for strategic advantage. But more than that, they were fighting for something we did not understand." He walked to the large window that looked out over the academy grounds. In the distance, human and alien children played together in the gardens. We fought for conquest, for the glory of the Confederation, for orders from our superiors. The humans fought for each other, for their families, for the right to exist as free beings. That made them far more dangerous than we ever imagined. Vexthul turned back to face the cadets. By the end of that first day, we had lost 6 ships and over 3,000 crew members. The humans had lost every vessel they sent against us, but they had accomplished something impossible. They had hurt us. The old commander's voice grew heavy with memory. Admiral Crexton was furious. He ordered the bombardment of Earth's major cities. We would teach these primitives the price of resistance. But when our weapons targeted the planet's surface, something unexpected happened. He paused, building suspense. The remaining human ships, the ones that had stayed back to defend their world, moved between us and Earth. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, even small personal craft. They formed a wall of metal and flesh between our guns and their home. The display showed the incredible sight. Thousands of human vessels, most of them civilian, spreading out in front of their planet. They had no weapons that could threaten the Confederation fleet, but they refused to move. A transmission came from Earth. An old human woman, their planetary leader, spoke directly to Admiral Crexton. The recording played. An elderly voice, tired but firm, filled the room. "I am President Helen Morrison, Jake's grandmother. You want to destroy our cities? You'll have to go through every one of us first. We won't move, we won't surrender, and we won't stop fighting until you leave our system or kill every last one of us." Vexthul's voice became very quiet. That was when we realized we were not fighting an army. We were fighting an entire species. Every human, from the oldest to the youngest, was willing to die rather than submit to conquest. They had turned their whole world into a fortress, and every citizen into a soldier. The commander looked around the room at the mix of young faces. The siege of Earth lasted for 6 months. We could have destroyed the planet, but we wanted to conquer it, not rule over radioactive ruins. The humans used that time to prepare defenses that would change the course of the war and the future of the galaxy. The next morning, Commander Vexthul returned to the Academy Hall. The same cadets sat waiting, but their faces showed more respect now. They had spent the night thinking about what they had learned. Some looked troubled. Others seemed eager to hear more. "Yesterday I told you about our first meeting with humans," Vexthul began. "Today I will tell you about Colony 7, where we learned that humans could turn anything into a weapon." He activated the holographic display, showing a small planet covered in red dust and rocky mountains. Several dome-shaped buildings dotted the surface. Colony 7 was a human mining settlement on the edge of their territory. 3,000 people lived there, digging valuable metals from the planet's core. It seemed like an easy target. No military base, no warships, just miners and their families. The old commander walked around the display, pointing at different locations. General Mordak commanded our ground forces. He had crushed 12 rebellions on other worlds. His plan was simple: surround the colony, cut off their supplies, and wait for them to surrender. A young cadet raised his hand. "Sir, did the humans not have any soldiers there?" Vexthul's laugh was bitter. "That was our mistake, cadet. We thought soldiers were the only ones who could fight." The display changed to show Confederation ships landing around the colony. Thousands of alien troops took positions in the hills surrounding the human settlement. We expected the siege to last maybe 2 weeks. Humans needed food and water just like any other species. Once they ran out, they would have to give up. General Mordak even prepared comfortable quarters for the human prisoners. Vexthul paused, his 4 eyes focusing on something in the distance. The first sign that something was wrong came after a month. Our scouts reported that the humans were not getting weaker. If anything, they seemed to be getting stronger. He showed an image of the colony as it appeared after those first weeks. New structures had been built between the domes. Metal barriers and defensive positions surrounded every building. The colony's leader was a woman named Lisa Harper. Before the war, she had been a mining engineer. She knew how to dig deep into rock and extract valuable materials. When we surrounded her people, she used those same skills for war. The display showed cross-sections of the colony's underground tunnels. A maze of passages connected every building, with hidden chambers and storage areas throughout. Harper had turned the entire colony into a fortress. Her people could move from building to building without ever coming above ground. They had food storage chambers we never detected, and water recycling systems that could work for years. Zephyrian cadet looked confused. "But sir, how did they build all of this while surrounded?" Vexthul smiled grimly. "Because they had been building it long before we arrived. The humans had learned from the attack on Earth. Every human colony now prepared for siege from the day it was founded." The image changed to show the colony's industrial section. Large machines that had once processed raw ore were now producing something very different. Harper transformed their mining equipment into weapons factories. Ore crushers became ammunition presses. Chemical processing plants started making explosives. Even their food preparation areas were converted to produce supplies for war. Vexthul activated an audio recording. A woman's voice, calm and professional, gave instructions to her people. "This is Harper to all sections. Team Alpha, I need 50 more proximity charges by tomorrow. Team Beta, how are the rifle modifications coming along? Team Gamma, we need those communication jammers working by tonight." The recording continued, with responses from different groups. Engineers reported on weapon modifications. Miners discussed tunnel expansions. Even children's voices could be heard, talking about their jobs sorting metal scraps for ammunition. Every human in the colony became part of their war effort, Vexthul explained. Old people operated the factories. Children carried messages through the tunnels. Doctors worked on both healing the wounded and creating chemical weapons. He showed images of the weapons the humans had created. Crude but effective rifles made from mining equipment. Explosive devices built with industrial chemicals. Traps constructed from heavy machinery. But their greatest weapon was Staff Sergeant Rick Carter. He had been a soldier before becoming a miner. When our forces first surrounded the colony, Carter volunteered for a mission that should have been suicide. The display showed a human male, middle-aged with graying hair, walking out of the colony with his hands raised in surrender. Carter approached our lines alone carrying a white flag. He claimed he wanted to defect to give us information about the colony's defenses in exchange for his life. Vexthal's expression darkened. General Mordak was pleased. Finally, human. Cowardice was showing. He brought Carter aboard his command ship for questioning. The scene changed to show the interior of a Confederation vessel. Carter sat in a chair while alien officers questioned him. For 3 days, Carter answered our questions. He drew maps of the colony's tunnels. He explained their defense systems. He told us about their leaders and their plans. General Mordak believed he had broken the human spirit. A cadet interrupted. "Sir, was Carter really a traitor?" Vexthal's 4 eyes gleamed. Carter was the bravest human I ever encountered. Everything he told us was lies, carefully constructed to mislead us. But more importantly, he was memorizing every detail of our ship. The display showed Carter's route through the Confederation vessel. Every corridor he walked, every room he entered, every system he observed. On the 4th day, Carter escaped. Our guards were careless, thinking he was broken and harmless. He stole a small shuttle and fled back to the colony. General Mordak was angry but not worried. What could one broken human do with the little he had seen? Vexthal paused for effect. Within a week, we had our answer. The image showed explosions erupting across the Confederation camp. Supply depots burst into flames. Communication towers toppled. Vehicle pools were destroyed by precision strikes. Human raiders led by a woman named Melissa Stone attacked our most vulnerable points. They knew exactly where to strike because Carter had identified every weakness in our defenses during his 3 days aboard our ship. The recording played sounds of the battle. Explosions, shouting, and the distinctive crack of human weapons filled the air. Stone had been a demolitions expert in the mines. She knew how to place charges for maximum effect. Her teams moved through our camps like ghosts, destroying everything we needed to maintain the siege. Vexthal showed tactical maps of the attacks. Red marks indicated destroyed targets, and there were dozens of them. But the psychological effect was worse than the physical damage. Our soldiers realized that the humans had infiltrated our security so completely that nowhere was safe. Every supply convoy could be ambushed. Every patrol could be attacked. Every night brought new explosions. A young alien cadet looked frightened. How did they know so much about us? Because, Vexthal replied, they studied us like we were specimens in a laboratory. Every patrol that passed near the colony was watched and analyzed. Every communication we sent was intercepted and decoded. The humans learned our tactics better than we knew them ourselves. He activated another recording, this one showing human civilians watching Confederation troops through concealed cameras. "Look at squad formation, Charlie 7, a woman's voice said. "They always check the left side first when entering a building. Plant the charges on the right," another voice responded. "Confirmed. Their vehicles have weak armor on the underside. We can exploit that in tomorrow's ambush." Vexthal turned to face the cadets. The humans had turned observation into a weapon. They knew our habits, our weaknesses, our fears. When they attacked, it was with the precision of surgeons and the ruthlessness of predators. The display showed the siege camp after 2 months. What had been an organized military position now looked like a collection of scared soldiers hiding behind improvised barriers. General Mordak requested reinforcements. High Command sent 3 more regiments and additional supplies. The humans destroyed half of it before the ships even landed. Images flashed showing burning transport vessels and scattered equipment across the planet's surface. The reinforcements brought better sensors and security equipment. The humans adapted, faster than we could upgrade. Stone's team started using our own technology against us, turning captured sensors into early warning systems and stolen weapons into traps. Vexthal's voice grew quiet. After 4 months, something impossible happened. We were losing the siege. He showed statistics on the screen. Confederation casualties were climbing while human losses remained minimal. Supply costs were astronomical. Morale was at dangerous levels. High Command ordered General Mordak to end the siege quickly or withdraw. He chose a final assault on the colony itself. If he could not starve the humans out, he would overwhelm them with superior numbers. The display showed thousands of Confederation troops preparing for attack. Armored vehicles, air support, and heavy weapons were all focused on the small human settlement. The assault began at dawn. Our forces advanced from all directions, certain that sheer numbers would guarantee victory. Battle recordings played, showing the initial advance. Alien soldiers moved across the rocky terrain toward the colony domes. Commander Vexthul entered the classroom for the third day, noticing how the cadets now sat with more attention. Word had spread through the academy about his stories. Today, more students filled the room than before, some standing along the walls to listen. The siege of Colony 7 was just the beginning, Vexthul said without introduction. What happened next would haunt our supply lines for 3 years and drive our fleet commanders to madness. He activated the holographic display, showing a map of the galaxy with red lines marking Confederation supply routes between different star systems. After Colony 7, High Command realized this war would not end quickly. We needed steady supplies of fuel, ammunition, and food to support our forces across human territory. These supply convoys were essential to our war effort. The display showed large cargo ships moving along the marked routes, protected by escort vessels. Our convoys were well protected. Each one had at least 6 warships as guards. We used the fastest hyperspace routes and changed our schedules randomly to avoid ambushes. Our ships had the best sensors in the galaxy. Nothing could approach without being detected hours in advance. Vexthul paused, looking at the eager faces of his students. That is what we believed. We were wrong. The display changed to show the wreckage of a Confederation supply convoy drifting in empty space. Cargo containers floated among the debris of destroyed escort ships. Convoy 7 Alpha was attacked 3 months after Colony 7 fell. 12 cargo ships and 6 escorts all destroyed. When our rescue ships arrived, they found no trace of the attackers. No enemy debris, no energy, signatures, no hyperspace trails. The human ships had simply vanished. A cadet raised her hand. Sir, how could ships disappear without leaving any trace? Vexthul's 4 eyes focused on her. That question kept our admirals awake at night for 3 years. The answer would change how we understood space warfare forever. He showed more images of destroyed convoys. Each scene looked the same. Scattered wreckage, no survivors, no clues about who had attacked or how they had escaped. The attacks continued for weeks. Always the same pattern. Supply convoys would be found destroyed, but the attackers were ghosts. Our intelligence officers called them the Ghost Fleet, and the name spread fear throughout our forces. The old commander walked to the center of the room. Admiral Susan Blake commanded this Phantom Fleet. She had been a cargo ship captain before the war, running supplies between human colonies. She knew space routes better than anyone in the human military. Vexthul activated a recording, showing a middle-aged human woman with short gray hair and tired eyes. She stood on the bridge of what looked like a converted cargo vessel. This is Admiral Blake to all Ghost Fleet units. Remember, we are not pirates, we are not raiders, we are surgeons, we cut precisely, we strike vital points, and we leave no trace of our presence. The recording continued with Blake giving detailed orders to her fleet commanders. Her voice was calm and professional, like someone discussing a routine business transaction rather than planning military attacks. Strike Team Alpha will hit the fuel convoy at grid reference 779. Strike Team Beta takes the ammunition shipment near the asteroid field. Remember, destroy everything but do not engage escort vessels unless necessary. Our goal is to starve their war machine, not fight their navy. Vexthul turned to his students. Blake understood something our admirals did not. In a long war, logistics win battles. An army without supplies cannot fight, no matter how brave its soldiers or how advanced its weapons. The display showed tactical analyses of the Ghost Fleet attacks. Each strike targeted specific types of cargo: fuel, ammunition, medical supplies, food. Military equipment was destroyed, but the escort ships were often left alone if they did not interfere. But how did they remain invisible? Our best scientists studied the attack sites for months. Finally, Commander Pete Watson provided the answer, though we did not capture him until near the end of the war. Images showed a human male in his 40s, with the practical clothes of an engineer. He stood in what appeared to be a ship's engine room, surrounded by unusual modifications to standard equipment. Watson had been Blake's chief engineer. Before the war, he designed heating systems for space stations. He understood how ships generated and dispersed heat better than anyone alive. Vexthul explained the technical details in simple terms. All spaceships produce heat from their engines, life support, and weapons. This heat creates a signature that sensors can detect across vast distances. It is impossible to hide, or so we thought. The display showed cross-sections of human ships, with strange additions. Extra radiators, heat sinks, and cooling systems were attached to every surface. Watson had modified the human ships to absorb and redirect their heat signatures. Instead of glowing like stars in space, they became as cold as asteroids. Our sensors could not tell the difference between a ghost fleet ship and a piece of space debris. A Zephyrian cadet looked confused. But sir, how did the humans survive in such cold ships? They did not make the ships cold inside, Vexthul replied. Watson's system captured the heat and stored it in special chambers. The ships stayed warm inside but appeared cold outside. It was brilliant engineering using simple principles. He showed more images of the modified human vessels. They looked ugly compared to sleek Confederation ships, covered with external equipment and unusual hull modifications. But the Ghost Fleet's greatest advantage was not their stealth technology. It was their communication system. Lieutenant Carol Martinez had created a network that made their scattered ships work as one coordinated force. The display showed a young human woman with dark hair, working at a communication station filled with unfamiliar equipment. Martinez had been a communications engineer for a shipping company before the war. She knew how to coordinate cargo movements across multiple star systems using minimal resources. Vexthul activated another recording. Martinez's voice, speaking quickly and efficiently, coordinated multiple operations simultaneously. Ghost 1, your target moved to grid 447. Adjust approach vector by 15 degrees. Ghost 3, convoy Charlie 9 is running 6 hours late. Delay your attack accordingly. Ghost 7, local patrol increased. Recommend abort and move to secondary target. The recording continued with responses from different ship commanders. The coordination was perfect, with each unit knowing exactly where to be and when to strike. Martinez never used direct radio communications between ships. Instead, she created a system of dead drops and relay stations throughout space. Messages were hidden in asteroid fields, abandoned stations, and even inside pieces of space debris. Images showed the ingenious hiding places the humans used. Hollow asteroids contained communication equipment. Derelict ships held message capsules. Even old cargo containers floating in space served as mailboxes for the Ghost Fleet. Our intelligence officers spent months trying to crack their communication system. Every time we found one of their relay stations, we discovered it contained only old messages. The current intelligence had already been collected and replaced with false information. Vexthul's voice carried a note of admiration. The humans had turned the vastness of space itself into their weapon. They used the galaxy's own size against us. He showed a tactical map of human space, marked with the locations of Ghost Fleet attacks. The strikes appeared random but formed, a pattern that gradually isolated Confederation forces from their supply lines. But the psychological warfare was perhaps more effective than the physical attacks. Captain Tony Harrison specialized in what the humans called message warfare. The display showed a human male with a scarred face and cold eyes. He stood beside what appeared to be a recording device in a damaged ship. Harrison left messages at every attack site, recordings that our rescue crews would find when they arrived to investigate the destroyed convoys. Vexthul activated one of these recordings. Harrison's voice was calm but carried an undertone of menace that made several cadets shift uncomfortably. Greetings to whoever finds this message. You have discovered the remains of Convoy Delta 7. Your supplies are destroyed. Your escort ships are damaged. Your crews are dead. This is the price of invading human space. The recording continued with Harrison's distinctive delivery, part military briefing and part psychological torture. We know your supply schedules. We know your routes. We know your weaknesses. Every convoy you send feeds our intelligence network. Every ship you lose makes you weaker. We are always watching. We are always waiting, and we will never stop hunting. You. The message ended with coordinates for 3 other convoy attack sites, proving that the Ghost Fleet had struck multiple targets while the rescue ships were investigating just one. These midnight messages became legendary among our forces, Vexthul explained. Crew members would refuse assignments to supply runs. Captains requested transfers to combat units rather than escort duty. The Ghost Fleet had become more than a military threat. They were a source of terror. He showed statistics from that period of the war. Supply convoy success rates had dropped to less than 30%. The cost of protecting each shipment had increased by over 400%. Several rear area commands were reporting supply shortages. Commander Vexthul entered the classroom to find it packed with cadets. Word had spread throughout the academy about his stories, and students from other classes had come to listen. Some sat on the floor when the chairs ran out. Today I must tell you about something that confused our greatest minds, Vexthul began. The more we studied humans, the less we understood them. They showed us behaviors that our scientists said were impossible. He activated the holographic display, showing 2 images side by side. On the left, human soldiers fought with terrible ferocity. On the right, the same humans tenderly cared for wounded enemies. How can one species be both the most violent and most compassionate beings in the galaxy? This question haunted me for years. The old commander walked slowly around the room, his metal leg clicking softly on the floor. 3 years into the war, High Command transferred me to Intelligence Division. My job was to study captured humans and understand how their minds worked. What I discovered changed everything I believed about war and peace. The display showed a medical facility on a Confederation station. Human prisoners worked alongside alien doctors, treating wounded soldiers from both sides. The first human I studied was Dr. Kevin Murphy. He had been captured during the Battle of Titan Station when his medical ship was damaged. We expected him to be like other prisoners, angry, defiant, planning escape. Vexthul showed an image of Murphy, a middle-aged man with gentle eyes and steady hands. He wore the white coat of a doctor even in captivity. Instead, Murphy asked to help in our medical bay. He said wounded soldiers needed care regardless of which side they fought for. Our doctors thought it was a trick, some kind of human deception. The Ike recording played, showing Murphy working tirelessly in the alien medical facility. His hands moved with practiced skill as he treated Zephyrian soldiers who had been injured fighting his own people. For 6 weeks, Murphy saved lives. He worked 18 hours a day treating battle wounds and diseases. He taught our doctors new techniques and helped develop better medicines. When we offered him freedom in exchange for military information, he refused. A cadet raised her hand. Sir, why would he refuse freedom? Vexthul's 4 eyes fixed on her. Because, he said, there were still patients who needed him. Murphy could not abandon wounded beings, even if they were his enemies. The display showed Murphy's small cell, where he had created a makeshift laboratory using medical supplies. He was working on treatments for a disease that affected Zephyrian soldiers. Murphy escaped 3 times. Each time he came back voluntarily because he had left work unfinished in the medical bay. Our guards stopped trying to prevent his escapes. They knew he would return. The old commander paused, letting this information sink in. At the same time, on the opposite side of our station, we held another human prisoner. Major Jennifer Stone was everything Murphy was not. The image changed to show a woman with cold eyes and numerous scars. Even in captivity, she carried herself like a warrior ready for battle. Stone had held a strategic checkpoint for 18 hours against overwhelming odds. When our forces finally captured the position, they found her surrounded by the bodies of 47 Zephyrian soldiers. Vexthul showed battlefield recordings from that engagement. Stone fought with mechanical precision, using every weapon and piece of cover available. Even when wounded and outnumbered, she continued fighting. Stone had been shot 12 times during the battle. Our medical experts said she should have been dead after the 3rd wound. Somehow she kept fighting for 15 more hours. The recording showed Stone's final moments of combat. Blood covered her uniform, but her hands remained steady as she fired at approaching Confederation troops. When we questioned Stone, she showed no fear, no regret, no desire for mercy. She had killed our soldiers to protect human civilians, and she was proud of every death she had caused. A Zephyrian cadet looked disturbed. "Sir, we're all human warriors like Stone?" "That is what confused us," Vexthul replied. Stone and Murphy were both typical humans, but they seemed like completely different species. He showed psychological profiles side by side. Murphy scored high for empathy and cooperation. Stone showed maximum ratings for aggression and determination. Yet both were considered normal by human standards. Our xenobiologists studied both prisoners for months. They concluded that humans must have a mental disorder that created split personalities. How else could one species contain such opposites? The display showed brain scans and psychological tests. Human neural patterns looked different from any other known species, with unusual connections between emotional and logical centers. Then something happened that proved our scientists wrong. During a prisoner exchange, Murphy and Stone met for the first time. Vexthul activated a recording showing the two humans in a waiting area. They sat quietly, talking in low voices, recorded their conversation, hoping to gain intelligence about human military plans. Instead, we witnessed something that shattered our understanding of their species. The audio played clearly. Murphy's gentle voice could be heard first. "Jennifer, I heard about your stand at Checkpoint 7. Those civilians you saved are my patients now. Thank you for keeping them alive." Stone's harder voice responded. "Doctor, I heard you've been treating our captors. Some of the soldiers you saved were friends of mine before this war started," Murphy replied. "All wounded deserve healing, even those who hurt us. Hatred does not cure infection." Stone was quiet for a moment. "I understand. You fight death. I fight those who bring death. We serve the same cause from different directions." Vexthul stopped the recording. In that moment, I realized we had misunderstood everything about human nature. He walked to the center of the room, addressing all the cadets directly. Humans were not split personalities or mentally damaged. They were complete beings who understood something we did not. They could hold two opposite truths at the same time without conflict. The display showed images from throughout human history. Soldiers helping enemy wounded, doctors treating patients in war zones, teachers protecting children during battles. They fought with terrible efficiency because they loved peace so much. They killed when necessary because they valued life above all else. They were capable of mercy because they understood the cost of violence. Vexthul activated another recording, this one from a human military briefing. A general addressed his troops before a major battle. "Remember why we fight," the general said. "Not because we hate those who stand against us, but because we love those who stand behind us. Every shot you fire, fire with purpose. Every life you take, take with sorrow. We are not here to destroy, but to protect." The response from human soldiers was unified but not enthusiastic. They understood their duty but took no joy in it. This confused our military commanders even more. Vexthul continued. How could soldiers fight effectively while feeling sorry for their enemies? He showed battle footage where human soldiers provided medical aid to wounded Confederation troops, even while the fighting continued around them. The answer came from an unexpected source. Corporal Danny Baker was scheduled for execution as a war criminal. He had destroyed Research Station Alpha, killing over 300 Confederation personnel. The display showed a young human male, barely out of his teens, sitting calmly in a detention cell. Despite facing death, he showed no fear or anger. Baker had volunteered to stay behind when human forces evacuated the station. His mission was to prevent our troops from capturing valuable research data. Vexthul showed the tactical situation. Human civilians were escaping in transport ships, while Confederation forces surrounded the research station. Baker could have simply destroyed the computers and escaped. Instead, he remained to ensure every civilian transport got away safely. When our forces breached the station, they found him alone, preparing the final evacuation ship. The recording showed Baker's last transmission to the fleeing human ships. All civilian transports, this is Baker at Research Station Alpha. Final count shows all personnel evacuated. You are clear to jump to hyperspace. It has been an honor serving with you all. Baker's voice remained steady even as explosions echoed. In the background, Confederation troops were breaking through the station's defenses. Baker had rigged the station's reactor to explode, but not to kill our soldiers. He had calculated the blast to seal a radiation leak that would have poisoned the nearby colony world of New Harmony. Vex Thul's voice grew quiet. New Harmony was inhabited by Zephyrian civilians. Baker died to save the lives of his enemies' families. The display showed the explosion from space. The research station vanished in a controlled blast that sealed the dangerous radiation leak, but caused no other damage to the system. When our forces investigated the wreckage, they found Baker's final message. It was addressed to the Zephyrian colonists on New Harmony. The recording played Baker's young voice, recorded moments before his death. To the families on New Harmony, I am sorry this war brought danger to your world. I am sorry my people and your people cannot find peace. I hope someday our children will be friends. Until then, I hope this sacrifice helps protect your children from the mistakes of their parents. Silence filled the classroom. Several cadets wiped tears from their eyes. Commander Vex Thul entered the classroom for the final time. The room was packed beyond capacity, with cadets sitting in the aisles and standing against every wall. News of his stories had spread throughout the academy and beyond. Even some instructors had come to hear the conclusion. Today I will tell you how the war ended, Vex Thul began. But I warn you, the ending was not what anyone expected. Not the humans, not the Confederation, not even the generals who planned the final battle. He activated the holographic display, showing a massive space battle in progress. Hundreds of ships from both sides exchanged fire across a vast area of space. The Battle of New Geneva was supposed to be the decisive engagement. High Command had gathered our largest fleet ever assembled. 2,000 warships commanded by Grand Admiral Thexmar himself. The humans had mobilized every vessel they could find to defend their core worlds. The display showed the opposing forces. The Confederation fleet was larger and better armed, but the human ships fought with their characteristic desperation and innovation. For 3 days, the battle raged across 7 star systems. Ships burned, soldiers died, and both sides bled resources they could not afford to lose. By the 4th day, it was clear the Confederation would win through superior numbers. Vex Thul paused, his 4 eyes distant with memory. I was aboard the flagship Thunder of Eternity, serving as intelligence officer to Grand Admiral Thexmar. We could see the human fleet breaking apart under our assault. Victory was hours away. The scene changed to show the bridge of a massive Confederation warship. Alien officers worked at their stations while explosions flashed outside the viewports. Then something impossible happened. The human fleet, which should have been in full retreat, began to regroup. A new commander had taken charge of their forces. General Patricia Collins transmitted a message that confused everyone who heard it. Vex Thul activated an audio recording. A woman's voice, calm and authoritative, spoke to both fleets simultaneously. This is General Collins of the Human Defense Force, speaking to all ships in this system. I am ordering an immediate ceasefire. All human vessels will power down weapons and prepare to render assistance to damaged Confederation ships. The old commander looked at his stunned students. You can imagine our confusion. The humans were asking for a ceasefire when they were losing the battle. It made no tactical sense. The display showed human ships actually moving toward damaged Confederation vessels, their weapons powered down, their medical bays preparing to receive alien wounded. Grand Admiral Thexmar thought it was a trick. He ordered our fleet to continue the attack, expecting the humans to spring some kind of trap when we approached. More recordings played, showing the chaos on Confederation command ships, as officers tried to understand what the humans were doing. Sir, the human ship Liberty's Dawn is requesting permission to dock with our damaged cruiser Sword of Justice. They say they have medical supplies and engineering teams ready to help. Another voice responded with disbelief. Are they insane? We just destroyed half their fleet and they want to help us? Vex Thul continued his narrative. But the humans were not planning a trick. Captain Alex Turner, General Collins's aide, transmitted the surrender terms that would end the war. The display showed a young human officer standing beside Collins on a ship's bridge. Despite the ongoing battle, both humans appeared calm and determined. Turner's message was broadcast on all frequencies, so every ship in both fleets could hear it. The recording played Turner's clear voice addressing the assembled armadas. The Human Defense Force offers unconditional surrender to the Galactic Confederation with the following terms. First, recognition of human sovereignty over our current territory. Second, establishment of a mutual non-aggression pact. Third, immediate prisoner exchange and medical assistance for all wounded. The young officer paused before continuing with words that would reshape the galaxy. In addition, humanity offers a mutual defense alliance and full technology sharing agreement with all Confederation member species. We propose to turn former enemies into partners in peace. Vexthul's voice grew quiet. The entire fleet fell silent. In 4 years of war, no one had ever heard surrender terms that offered friendship to the victor. He showed the tactical display from that moment. Both fleets had stopped firing, hanging motionless in space as commanders tried to process what they had heard. Grand Admiral Thexmar was furious. He demanded to know why the humans would offer alliance to those who had tried to conquer them. General Collins's response changed everything. Another recording played, showing Collins speaking directly to the Confederation flagship. Admiral, we have fought for 4 years because you tried to take our freedom. We have proven we will die before we surrender that freedom, but we have also proven we can work together when we choose cooperation over conquest. Collins gestured to the space around them, filled with the wreckage of war. Look at what we have accomplished through conflict. Imagine what we could accomplish through partnership. You have technology we need. We have innovations you could use. Together we could build something greater than either of us could achieve alone. Vexthul walked among the cadets, many of whom looked confused by this turn of events. The Grand Admiral was not convinced. He saw only weakness in the human offer. He ordered the final assault to begin, intending to destroy the remaining human ships and occupy their worlds. The display showed Confederation vessels preparing to resume their attack, weapons powered up and targeting systems locked onto human ships. But something extraordinary happened. Admiral Susan Blake, commander of the Ghost Fleet, appeared with her entire force between the two main fleets. Images showed dozens of human ships materializing from stealth, not to attack, but to shield the damaged Confederation vessels from their own fleet's weapons. Blake transmitted a message that stopped the war in its tracks. Her recording played, the voice that had terrorized Confederation supply lines for 3 years now speaking words of protection. Admiral Thexmar, if you want to destroy the human surrender fleet, you will have to go through us, but we are not here to fight you. We are here to protect your own damaged ships from friendly fire. The tactical situation became surreal. Human stealth ships surrounded wounded Confederation vessels, using their own hulls as shields to protect their former enemies. Blake continued her transmission with words that broke the Grand Admiral's resolve. For 3 years, we have shown you that humans can be your worst nightmare. Today, we want to show you that we can be your greatest allies. The choice is yours, Admiral. War or peace, death or life, conquest or cooperation. Vexthul paused, remembering the moment that changed galactic history. Grand Admiral Thexmar was the finest military mind in the Confederation. He had won 47 campaigns and never retreated from any battle. But faced with an enemy that offered friendship instead of vengeance, he found himself helpless. The display showed the bridge of the Confederation flagship. Alien officers watched their commander struggle with a decision no military training had prepared him for. The Grand Admiral asked for a private communication with General Collins. Their conversation lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, he ordered all Confederation forces to stand down and accept human assistance. Vexthul activated the final recording of the war. Thexmar's voice, heavy with exhaustion and wonder, addressed both fleets. All Confederation vessels, this is Grand Admiral Thexmar. I am ordering an immediate ceasefire and acceptance of human surrender terms. We will provide mutual assistance to all damaged vessels and begin immediate negotiations for a permanent peace treaty. The old commander looked around the silent classroom. The war ended not with a great battle, but with a great act of mercy. The humans had won by refusing to let victory make them into conquerors. He showed images from the aftermath. Human and Confederation medical teams worked together to treat wounded from both sides. Engineers from both species collaborated to repair damaged ships. Former enemies shared food and supplies while negotiations continued. But the real victory came 6 months later, when the peace treaty was signed on New Geneva Station. The document did more than end the war. It created something new in galactic history. The display showed the treaty signing ceremony. Human and alien leaders stood together, signing documents that would reshape civilization. The reformed Galactic Alliance was born from the ashes of the Confederation. Instead of conquest and submission, it was based on mutual cooperation and shared defense. Instead of one species ruling others, it became a partnership of equals. Vexthal showed the results of that partnership. Human medical technology combined with alien science to eliminate diseases that had plagued both species. Confederation engineering knowledge helped humans build better ships and cities. Together, they explored new worlds and made discoveries neither could have achieved alone. General Collins became the first human member of the Alliance Council. Admiral Blake established the Joint Defense Fleet that protects all member worlds. Dr. Murphy founded the Interspecies Medical Exchange that still saves lives today. He paused at images showing the current galaxy. Dozens of species worked, together in peace, their differences becoming strengths rather than sources of conflict.